going to go into our GO session after this joint session with HHS. And we have two items. We're going to begin with an item about the progress made by the ITPCC, which is the Interagency Technology Policy and Coordination Committee, with regards to the FY 17 to 19 work plan, and then the targets for FY 20. Welcome, everybody. It's good to see everybody here this afternoon, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Torregas to walk us through the discussion and the packet as well.
Thank you. I'll be very brief. There are two items for your consideration today. Under agenda item number 1, you're going to hear from the principals group, who are the heads of the agencies, who are their designees. And on item number 2, you'll hear from the CIOs in terms of the detailed work program that they have. For item number 1, we have a letter from Mr. Klein, our CAO, which is on circle 1 and 2 of your packet of agenda item number 1. Ms. Fariba Kassiri, the Deputy CAO, is here to present that letter. Fariba?
Good afternoon.
Please press your button right there. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Fariba Kassiri, Deputy CAO, and on behalf of the CAO, Andrew Klein, I want to convey his regret for not being able to attend in person. At the outset, I want to convey that Andrew finds the ITPCC to be an asset and model program where all the agency principals can get together to envision and execute strategies, a better future aggregation or efforts in the interest of our community and in line with the vision of and the priorities of the County Council and County Executive. Andrew Klein's transmittal memo on page 1, circle 1 packet conveys his desire to chair the panel's committee, principals committee, for another 2 years. This speaks volumes about how much he believes ITPCC is important to the future success of the county. The IPCC is a body that can help leverage and derive synergies from several initiatives of the County Executive and County Council, including 2-year budgeting, technology and process aid innovation, enterprise-level planning leading to large-scale population-level outcomes in quality of life, equity, public health, safety, economic development, and sustainability. Andrew is excited and ready to assemble the principles and create a useful 2-year ITPCC work plan around our joint priorities. And of course, he's going to come back to you later in fall to request to get your input before implementing it. He especially wants to acknowledge the guidance the GEO Committee has provided over the year in guiding the work of the ITPCC. He also wants to acknowledge the leadership provided by the principals and congratulates the CIOs in delivering the many measurable outcomes presented in the ITPCC's status report today. I will now request Sunny Siegel, Chair of the CIO Subcommittee, on behalf of the group to present the findings.
Before we do so, Mr. Siegel, could we just go around the table very quickly so everybody can introduce themselves and be on the record? So if you can go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll go around. Yes.
I'm Sunny Siegel. I'm the Chief Information Officer from Montgomery County Government.
Good afternoon. My name is Henry Mobayani. I'm CIO for Montgomery County Department of Planning and Department of Parks. I'm sitting for Chair Casey Anderson. Unfortunately, he couldn't attend because of conflict.
Thank you.
I'm Anwar Karim, Chief Technology Officer, Montgomery College.
Not sure it likes my touch, but good afternoon. I'm Jane Ellen Miller, Interim Chief Information Officer for Montgomery College.
Good afternoon.
Donna Shenna, Interim Senior Vice President for Administrative and Fiscal Services, Montgomery College.
Good afternoon. I'm Ian Williams, Chief Technology Officer for Montgomery County Housing Opportunities Commission. I'm representing Director Span, who unfortunately isn't able to be here at this time, but thanks you for all that you're doing.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Bernard Wright, Chief Information Officer for the Washington Suburban Sanitary Commission, or WSSC.
Welcome. Okay, Mr. Siegel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's my privilege to be reporting out on behalf of the CIO subcommittee today. It's been a great year and a half, going on 2 years now as chair of the committee. I've had the occasion to work with so many wonderful partners in the agencies. And of course, under the leadership of the principals in crafting the CIO work plan. The CIO work plan, actually on Circle 3 of the packet today, is a fairly large scope plan and comprehensive when it comes to including all the priorities of the county government, county council as well, and the missions of each of the agencies represented in it. From that, the CIOs derived a more visual work plan that's on Circle 7 in the packet today, to be able to demonstrate measurable outcomes and progress. I am pleased to report that the plan has continued to yield excellent collaboration between us. Some of the highlights of that are evidenced in the fact that FiberNet, the wide area, county-wide network, continues to grow in dimensions, in capacity, and there's a lot more to come. In just that one item alone, we have aggregated our demands and forecast them to show that FiberNet now needs a redesign to increase capacity in orders of magnitude, because that's what our demand needs. And FiberNet needs to be extended to places such as our Connected Parks program to be all-inclusive, of areas where people live, work, and play, and learn. And then our data center sharing program is illustrative of what we can do to match up our capacities to our requirements, and to benefit from those. There is a lot more to be done. The work plan that will be coming to you, covering the next 2 years, will then benefit from the work that we now know is needed to be done. And as Fariba pointed out, we're going to be back in the fall to report out on the new work plan and to cover some of the other areas that Dr. Tarigas has included on page 4 of his analysis. And if you would like, I can, touch on these areas. However, I'll be happy to answer questions that you may have or the committee members may have.
How do you want to proceed, Dr. Torres?
I suggest that take a look at page 4. There are 2 bullets. One is the racial equity initiative that the council has adopted under your leadership, and and pose the question to the leadership that we have around this table: how can technology help racial equity? I think we'd be happy to hear that there are many initiatives underway already, but perhaps it might be good to focus on that. And the second item might be the IT strategic plan for the enterprise. I can tell you that this document has the strategic plans of all of the agencies. Now, the question is, could, instead of having 6 different plans, could we have a single plan for the more than $200 million this council approves every year for all the agency IT efforts? Some of the past ITPCC CIO subcommittees have tried to think about that, but really we haven't done that. So those are 2 questions of a policy nature that you may want to raise with the committee.
Yes, I think, first of all, thank you, everybody, for taking the time. I hope that in the near future, the principals will actually join. It's very important. I don't think there's any use of having a principals committee if, they're not able to adjust their calendars in order to come here. So given that this is a new day, it's a new administration, we have a brand-new council, I'd like to believe that we can improve on the way that we've been operating thus far, so I will note that. But secondly, I do think that this is a wonderful opportunity to begin to think about our next level approach to this extraordinary group. I think ITPCC has done amazing work. You know, the history of it is that for a while it was a little dormant, and you know, I think that this committee worked very hard to be able to really push forward and provide some resources, et cetera, because it can leverage so much. And more now with limited resources and growing needs, I think you know, it's a very amazing, I think, example to model for how we can do so many things. At the same time, I think it also opens an opportunity to take things to, you know, to a different level. And I think starting with this strategic plan, that's a really good place to start. And also, I think we need to understand a little bit more, you know, how we can work with the new administration to provide the necessary funding for whatever projects are identified. I know that there is, this council just, you know, passed a bill that will create some new positions at the executive level. One of them is the digital, what's it called? Digital Chief Officer. And so that's really exciting because then it's not just talking about hardware, but it's also about how can we leverage technology for on a more visionary level. That will also require some, you know, funding. I know in this budget there's also an innovation fund. So I like to understand how, you know, ITPCC also can tap into that, given that there's such a wealth of information and also a track record here of collaboration between so many agencies. And also, I think, you know, by the time we get to the fall, we are working on this racial equity and social justice policy. I mean, what we really want to do is pass a bill at the, you know, towards the end of fall with effective date January 2020. And the idea is that once we adopt that legislation, then everything is going to have this component. So I'm really pleased that there's already some effort underway, but in reality, the real, I think, work is going to start early next year as it begins to work its way through every single department, and hopefully, you know, different agencies would volunteer to align their own equity policies with what we're doing in county government. And just preparing for that, I think it's going to be really important. I think technology can really also help us boost this work around racial equity and social justice. It plays a significant role. It's embedded in everything that we do. So there's no doubt that I definitely would love to hear a little bit, you know, where that is. And then if we could finally get to a place where we can make, you know, facilitate how do we align and consolidate all these strategic plans, Dr. Torregas, given that this is, you know, a significant amount of money that we are investing. I think this committee, I hope I'm finding some agreement here. I think this committee is very interested in getting to that particular point of just, you know, a strategic plan. So that's sort of my general observation. Councilmember Friedson.
Thank you, Council President. I share pretty much everything. I think everything you just said. I think, you know, I'm new to this process, so I'm still learning as well. I do have a question about how the Chief Digital Officer interfaces or is thought to interface with this group. I had some questions about how that position will work broadly, but I think specifically as it relates to this group would be helpful to me to just understand that. And I also share the thought, I think, just from my understanding of it, I think one of the real strengths of the way this has been set up is that it combines the leadership of the different agencies with the subject matter experts, and making sure that we have both in the room when we discuss it, I think is really important. So I wanted to just reiterate that point because I had the same feeling, and I think that is the secret sauce. And so in the absence of that, we're kind of missing, in my view, what is really the fundamental genius of the way it's set up. And so I would hate to lose that moving forward. And just, you know, just broadly, you know, I think technology presents the greatest vulnerability that we have in county government and also the greatest opportunities for innovation, for collaboration, for coordination, for streamlining to meet the needs that we have with limited resources. And so figuring out how we balance that, how we strengthen protections, recognizing that we are more vulnerable today than we've ever been because we are, providing digital footprints and trails for that, and figuring out how the security piece of that is viewed by those of you sitting at this table who know a heck of a lot more about this than I do. But then also the more proactive opportunities that are before us, and some of the comments that were shared about the strategic plans and the ways that we can use this to leverage different departments and opportunities that are out there and best practices to be able to make sure that we have the most modern, efficient, and effective county government and fulfill some of the goals that the county executive and the CAO have about how we modernize county services to make sure that we're providing them as efficiently and effectively as possible. So I just look forward to the work of this group and to participating in the process.
Are there any thoughts on the digital officer and how that position will interface with this group?
I'm pretty sure it's going to be very close involvement. And the way the charter is written, I guess CIOs have a role with ITPCC, so as the principals. I am certain somehow we can either formally amend it or informally. I can assure you the person, he or she, is going to be heavily involved. It's not going to take the place of the principal, that is the CAO, but I am certain there's going to be a very collaborative and proactive involvement, because eventually you have a CIO involved also.
Well, right, but I think that as we are, looking at these different ways, as, the executive has signaled and as the council has been facilitating, I don't know that we need to amend the charter. I think that person can definitely, through the CIO, have some, really important input. I think Dr. Torregas, we can also look a little bit more closely into that. It was my understanding that, the impetus behind that was to, again, look at technology in a more holistic way and not just specifically through hardware and things of that nature, but how could, technology and the investment that we're making truly look at innovative, look at cutting edge, look at horizon issues and how we can deploy that. And it seems like that would fit very squarely with the
ITPCC.
goals and the mission of ITPCC. Anything else, Dr. Torregas?
No, I think unless the committee members have additional questions, we could ask the CIOs to maybe pick one or two items of interest and of pride in their agency and make sure that the council committee is aware of those.
All right, who wants to start? Okay.
All right, so our primary objective at WSSC right now really is system. So it's been a 2-year initiative, and I've been with WSSC now for a little more than 2 years. And the entire time I've been there, I've been focused on this new billing system. So we're a very big Oracle shop. So we're putting in a new Oracle billing system right now called Customer to Meter. And that's really taking all of the processes from metering all the way to bill payments. In addition to that, in parallel, we're also putting in a new work asset management and mobile workforce management system, which means that essentially if there is something that needs to happen in the field, we can dispatch and see exactly what's happening along the way. So the first part of that project, which we're calling Project Cornerstone, is going live on July 2nd. So all of our focus until that point really is on making sure we're successful in that regard. The second release is workforce management and work asset management, and that's going live November 4th, 2019. So we have teams focused on both releases, and that's why our budget is so high for this fiscal year, because we are in the finishing phases of getting that done. In addition, we're also in the process of redesigning our website, keeping in mind the fact that we just celebrated 100 years And we're very proud of the fact that we've been in business for 100 years without a drinking water violation, which, of course, in taking a look at other jurisdictions such as Michigan, is a huge accomplishment. So that's the majority of our focus right now. In parallel, we're also doing some operational things like refreshing our workstations, so moving from desktops to Lenovo laptops, and a few other minor projects as well. But like I said, the majority of our focus right now is on the new rate structure and the billing system that goes along with it.
Good.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Yes.
Yes, Jane Ellen Miller, CIO at Montgomery College. I think we have several things that we're very proud of. One in particular is our interns with the cybersecurity program. And I think one of the things that we're looking forward to doing is sharing some of that with other agencies, because we've certainly benefited from the student interns to the point where we've actually brought one onto our payroll who's just really excellent. I think it falls in line with what we're talking about when we talk about student success, along with enhancing the student experience. But I think from all of us as county agencies would benefit from that. You mentioned the word vulnerabilities, and I just think that that's something that we're always looking at and how we mitigate risk. So here's an opportunity to work with interns where they're getting the experience of what we do, but they're also able to share, and you'll find that they've got skill sets that we don't always have in terms of how we protect our data, protect our information. So I think that's something that we're really very, very proud of. And from that student experience, student success, I think we're always looking at what are we doing to help mitigate risk. So like your agency, we also are redesigning our website with a key focus on accessibility. That has been something, while it's been the law for quite some time, it's maybe been something that we haven't really focused on, but we're also very aware that that is not an area that you can neglect. Many of us of a certain age, maybe who don't have disabilities, but I would hazard a guess that when we're streaming Hulu, Amazon, et cetera, we like to do the captions. And as people get older, even without a disability, they want to see that. So it's important that we're doing those things with our website, just to make sure that it is accessible, that we're within the law, but that we're not discriminating against anyone that may have a disability. And those disabilities are not always recognizable. So again, I think a lot of what we're doing in the technology arena is to enhance student success, improve the student experience, and then look at how we collaborate. And I think Anwar, in working with Parks and Planning and making sure that our data center is in an environment where it is available. We do have an MOU in place. I think Parks and Planning has all of their equipment in there, and we certainly have space for others, but that's another way to collaborate and share resources.
Absolutely. Council Vice President Katz, I think, has a follow-up.
Thank you very much. Now, the student interns, are they actually Montgomery College students, or is this?
Some of them are, most of them are, yes, they are.
To me, and there again, I would hope that everyone sitting around this table might consider getting a few of those student interns. It's good for everybody, and it's certainly, you know, the hands-on experience, as you said, is great for the student, but it's probably even greater for the person that's there. They bring a different skill set. So I certainly thank you, and I applaud that.
That's really good. I think it's at next month's meeting with the cybersecurity teams. We will have some folks there from Montgomery College to talk more about the internship program and how you can take advantage of that. So we're hoping others will join us in that endeavor.
It's wonderful. Mr. Mabayani.
Good afternoon again, Henry Mobayani. Before everything, I would like to welcome a new council member, Fritzen. Welcome aboard. I would like to bring to you two major projects which I'm pleased to report our best ever collaboration effort among ITPCC agencies, which saved my agency hundreds of thousands of dollars co-locating our data center at Montgomery College King Street Data Center facility. Thank you, Montgomery College.
Thank you, Montgomery College.
Had we not been able to co-locate at college's King Street Data Center, we would have had significant interruption in service at the time of our move to Wheaton headquarters. Along with that, a need for costly consulting from a specialized data center relocation firm with a memo of understanding and our own internal resource at Parks, Planning, and Montgomery College. We made this happen, and I'm pleased to announce that our data center is in operation right now. The second project that with keen insight, vision, and leadership of GEO Committee, you tasked us for an exciting initiative last year to connect Wi-Fi in the parks,
Yes.
which we changed the name to Park Connect Park, because it's not only Wi-Fi. As Madam Chair mentioned, we have the infrastructure to outreach, bring community to a partnership with us. We have provided the Wi-Fi along with the improvement of security where it is needed, and it's helpful to make the parks safer for our park goer and for citizens. We also, I understand that the cable fund is currently not available to continue this project. I seek your support during the discussion in April. Support us to put this fund back, and we continue this project.
Dr. Torregas, we need to track that.
Yes, there are some clouds on the horizon, so I'll be sure to mention that in my packet for the cable fund balance. Okay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mobiani. Thank you for everything that you've done as well. Okay, anybody else? Yes.
Sure. Good afternoon again. My name is Ian Williams, CTO for Montgomery County Housing Opportunities Commission. When we last met, there was some conversation, some talk about bridging the homework gap and also the digital divide. And one of the tasks that we were charged with was bringing on board one pilot site for a student lounge. And I'm pleased to report that we have 10.
Nice.
So we exceeded the goal there in collaboration with MCPS. So we were able to do that. Another great thing that we're proud of is every site that is connected via FiberNet, we have provided Wi-Fi in the common areas. So those that are residents of that property or that building can go down and that common area and get on the public Wi-Fi. One other, I know we'd mentioned just two top things, but this has really been a big thing for us. We've had a lot of on-premises systems, and we have been migrating those to be cloud-based and currently moving through that now and integrating those. It's a big step for us because we have quite a bit of scattered sites, and the thought is to have those that are located in those sites to be able to work without connecting through, let's say, a VPN or a virtual private network back and going through our location in Kensington, but be able to work without the dependency on our headquarters. Currently, all traffic comes in through Kensington and then goes outbound, and our goal as we work through this and we move cloud is to have all that traffic be able to egress from there. We're pleased to report these accomplishments for the past, I guess, fiscal year.
I appreciate hearing that. I think it's funny because, although the response to our kickoff of the equity work was extraordinary, I mean, it totally blew my mind that we had over 500 people at the Civic Building on our very first forum. Of course, there are always going to be some naysayers. Of course, there are going to be some people that are questioning, why are we focusing on this? And I think it's because a lot of people don't quite understand or even know that even in Montgomery County, we have significant issues. I mean, what you were just describing, what we have talked about in this committee for such a long time, is that if you don't have access, to Wi-Fi or to technology or tablets, as HOC has also done amazing work in distributing that. This is not just because it's fun to have. I mean, this is an integral part of what every family needs for either homework help or to apply for jobs or to just, stay. I mean, this whole issue of the digital divide is real. And even if in our county that is a thing. I mean, having Wi-Fi in the parks is really important as an equity issue as well. And so it's just a really good, I think, affirmation of why doing this work a bit more structurally is going to be so important for the county so that we can literally check all those boxes that we need to check and provide access to all of our residents. Council Vice President Coates.
Thank you very much. And I actually was at one of the ceremonies, I guess, or the event where these were handed out. And I can tell you, it truly is a game changer for the families, and especially that young person. I mean, I had mothers with tears in their eyes coming over and saying, finally, there's no excuse why he can't get the information. And there's transportation issues to get someone to a library. I mean, all of these things. And now it's literally at their fingertips. But it was something they could not afford. They couldn't afford the tablet, but they couldn't afford the Wi-Fi either. And this doesn't bring us totally there, but it starts to bring us to a place where we should be and should have been probably for many years ago. But anyhow, I really do applaud this. And that was part of the I guess Comcast funds that were used on those days. And so this is really something that everyone should be proud of, because it literally is a game changer.
No, thank you for that. And, I think I said this the last time I was reporting out, that a lot of the things that we take for granted, we're just so overconnected. There's nothing, generally speaking, that, we have that we don't want. Their laptops, tablets, whatever it is, and meeting with the young people and realizing that, man, these things that we do take for granted, that we walk around with in our bags,
Right.
that it's precious to them. So at that event, it was quite an eye-opener for me also.
Yeah. It's awesome. Okay. Anybody else? Mr. Siegel?
Yes, thank you. I wanted to further endorse the internship program for cybersecurity.
Yes.
Our county government security official, Keith Young, is there, and he was one of the first
Yes.
to bring us a cohort of interns for the cybersecurity program at the college. And we've had phenomenal success. However, I have to say that while county government actually brought them into temporary positions, then created permanent positions, none of them stayed very long. One particular case where one of the interns was so good and was able to identify a gap in a internationally used cybersecurity product was, of course, that really exemplified what caliber of people, the college is sending to us. We're on our fourth or fifth cohort now, and the other agencies actually have indicated an interest now, in partaking in this. And Director Roundy, who's not here, deserves a lot of credit for that.
Thank you for pointing that out. I mean, it's interesting, right? Because here we had this whole briefing on WorkSource Montgomery, and we've been having conversations about, incubators and things of that nature. It's already happening. I mean, obviously. And the demand is so great. I'm not surprised, of course, that they're leaving very quickly. But this is something that we need to also emulate when we have those conversations about economic development and WorkSource in Montgomery and workforce development and things like that. I mean, this is exactly what we need to do in a much more scalable fashion because this is high demand for sure.
Yes.
That's Councilmember Friedson.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing and also add in the Fed committee, we had a tech talent
Yes.
pipeline Fed and Ed
Yes.
joint committee where both you and I participated in that. And I think this speaks to that. I think the question is, how do we bottle it up and spread it around and scale this to the point that we want? And these are some of the few jobs that I'm happy that they're finding other opportunities, because it demonstrates the talent pool that we're helping to create. I only just hope that they're staying at maybe private sector, but Montgomery County private sector businesses here, but hopefully we can keep that pipeline going. But I think also maybe even think, and perhaps this group, given the people who are here, could think about how we could think about thinking through that tech talent, and perhaps have this group be part of that conversation, since the college and all of the technological expertise in the county across agencies is here, and so you certainly know what the what folks are looking for, what the skill sets that are needed, where the gaps are, and so I think it would be helpful. Just slightly switching gears, because on the data center piece was interesting to me, and I think that this is great to think about how we can streamline these. The other thing that came to mind for me was disaster recovery, and just wondering what we're doing across agencies. Disaster recovery, it's basically digital insurance. And what I always found in roles that I was in state agencies is you have to have it, but it is so expensive. And leverage, the larger the organization, the easier it is to stomach, but the smaller the organizations, the tougher it is, because you're spending such a huge amount of money to have a physical location where you can have the backup that you need in case a worst case scenario takes place, particularly when we're talking about these core functions of government. And I'm just wondering if, I'm sure everybody has a disaster recovery plan independently, but I'm looking at that large book and wondering if we have a unified disaster recovery, and if there are ways to streamline that, because I have found, at least at the state level, we did not do a very good job of that. Everybody wanted to have their own disaster recovery with their own relationships and their own way of doing it, and we ended up spending tremendously more money, I think, than we needed to. And it's the left pocket or the right pocket, but it's still the taxpayers' money. And I never thought that we were getting a better outcome. We were just spending more money on that. So just wondering, we don't have to discuss it today necessarily, but if at least moving forward, if that could be discussed, unless you're ready to.
Yeah, I'd like to share, not a very large-scale success, but we are collectively sharing a couple of commercial data centers in Montgomery County, which are FiberNet connected. So yes, we are sharing our contracts related to disaster recovery services at those data centers, and I think that's a great start. Now, as for leveraging our collective volume, and our business, I think that would be a good next step to look into. We also have now connected FiberNet into Ashburn through public-private partnership, and that's huge, because we're beginning to see our migration to the cloud, and I think item number 2 covers those across the board, across all the agencies, the need for having disaster recovery sites not entirely local to us here, right? So it's opening up the possibility.
Close enough, but not too close.
Not too close,
Because
yes.
there's a huge natural problem.
If I could just briefly then kind of review the bidding. Mr. Klein has promised to get the principals connected sometime after the budget and to work up a work plan skeleton. Then he's intending to bring that skeleton to you as the GEO committee sometime in the early fall, that you would be able to contribute new ideas that may not be in the plan, and also to hear what the principals have decided. It's always a delicate balance between the CIOs who really know the business and the principals who may see a larger strategic vision. So it's that kind of balance that we're seeking for, but I've taken note of your idea, and I think that should be part of the grind of creating a new strategic plan for ITPCC. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, so should we move to the, is that it? We done?
Thank you all very, very much.
Wonderful.
Come a long way, let me tell you.
Yeah, well,
Come
thank
a
you.
long way.
Thank you very much for coming, and yeah, I can't wait for the draft of the work plan, so we can,
And you will be hearing some of these in elements during the budget season.
right.
Every single agency has an operating
Really? You
budget.
think they'll come in and ask for a couple bucks?
Thank you so much, buddy. We're adjourned.